Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And we've got our defensive line draft preview. A lot of fun players. And there's one guy who, if he's there at 25, I would have a hard time passing up that we're going to start off talking about. So we did edge on Tuesday, D-line today, corner on Tuesday, I believe. And we're in it. It's draft month. Justin, how are you?
Bobby Skinner, hello. Producer Julian back, hello. How you doing? I'm good. Interior D-line, underrated need for the Giants. You can say that about a lot of positions on this Giants team. They still do kind of have a lot of holes. And this is probably, I've kind of planted my flag in the ground. This is probably my favorite position to look at in the draft every single year. Because I'm finding, the more years that we're kind of attacking this and the more years that we take pride in our kind of draft prep, interior D-line is a position where you'll have top-tier guys going round one, and those guys are super, super fun to look at. But you'll still be watching guys that are third, fourth, fifth-round guys that are still, good football players, and they turn into good NFL players as well, which that's the whole point of the draft, right? Is taking players that will turn into good football players for your team, hopefully for a long time. And I feel like interior D-line is a position the Giants have not taken since we basically started this Talking Giants podcast, but every year there are good guys kind of sprinkled all throughout the draft, and hopefully the Giants can maybe grab one of these guys this year.
Yeah, the Giants defensive tackle group has, since we started doing this, has slowly went from the biggest strength, the deepest part of the team, to now you have Dexter Lawrence, who came out, broke out into a star this year. Good, we're going to have him for a long time. Leonard Williams on an expiring contract. And Raheem Nunez-Roches, that's their interior defensive line review. Besides guys like Ryder Anderson and DJ Davidson. So this is a position that needs help. It needs depth. A'Shawn Robinson's not here, and again, not even just depth. You may need to. There's a good chance you'll need a starter in a year from now with Leonard Williams. So. Fun position to talk about. D-line's always fun. First, this episode is brought to you by a few special people. Michael J. Burchick, he's a lawyer. I don't know. Aziz Uriati. I'm surprised Aziz subscribed after we were saying his brother BJ was a better prospect last week. And
he appreciates it.
Norman Robles. Normal Norman. Justin, who are these people?
Normal Norman.
He probably hates. He gets that joke a lot, and he probably hates it.
Hates it. Normal Noman hates the normal jokes. Patreon.com/TalkingGiants. You know the deal. You know the drill. Also want to give a reminder. If you are watching this video, I want you to like and then comment. Comment who your favorite player is that we're talking about right now, and then comment a player that we did not talk about that you like. And there's a chance that you could win a free shirt. It's kind of that simple. Ben Butler won the mock draft video. Congratulations to Ben Butler. I forget what shirt he chose. I think he chose a Day Balls of Steel shirt, classic shirt. And I'm going to choose a winner for the Edge episode pretty soon. And you can see, if you look in the description of this episode on YouTube, there's the timestamps. And on podcast apps, there's the timestamps and the chapters of what guys we're talking about when. So if you get lost, you know exactly where we are. Patreon.com/TalkingGiants. We do a bunch of other fun stuff, but wanted to give those reminders too for these draft preview episodes.
And there's a lot of defensive linemen in this class. There's guys that we're not going to talk about that are good, like Mozzie Smith out of Michigan. The putting together the 8 for this one was tough. But you know who it wasn't tough to put on this one first, Justin?
I know.
My guy. I just did a draft breakdown on him the other day, and that is Pitt defensive tackle Calijah Cancey, who's 6'1", 281 pounds, ran a 4.67 40, which was the second fastest 40 time for a defensive tackle. Technically the fastest because the other guy who we're going to talk about is kind of listed as an end, even though he'll play defensive tackle in the NFL. And he put up 7.5 sacks, 14.5 tackles for a loss. Justin, this guy has amazing get-off. His movement skills in general are just unreal. His foot fire is very quick. He really just plays games with defensive linemen, and he kind of does it all as a pass rusher. He may not be the strongest guy in the world. He's undersized at 6'1", 281 pounds. But guess what? I've seen him have better bull rush reps than anybody else on this list.
Yep.
than anybody else on this list who can be at 330 pounds or 310 pounds and 6'5". Calijah Kancey has those reps better than those guys, and he has a lot better run film than a lot of these guys too that are bigger than him. Justin, I think what this guy does is hard to find, and because of his size, he's being like dropped down draft boards by media, and I don't get it because I think this guy is someone who's worthy of a top 10 pick in the draft.
Number 1 in pass rush win rate among all interior defensive linemen. Think he was also number 1 in all pressures among interior defensive linemen this year.
Oh, was he number 1, Justin? He had 13 more than second place out of Power 5 schools. The difference between that is the difference between 2nd and 16th.
Love that. My main thing with Calijah Kancey, this is the season and this is the time of the year where you overthink everything. You overthink everything about prospects. You overanalyze. Don't overthink it with Calijah Kancey. Kancey's trump card is better than 95% of the players in this draft. And his trump card is his explosion, his athleticism, his get-off. He uses his athleticism and it flashes better than, like I said, 95%. Like, it's up there with flashing like Jalen Carter, but he's not being projected like a Jalen Carter player, and rightfully so. Like, because of his size, get it how he's not a top 10 pick, but he's not, I don't think he's a second-round player. And that's where he's kind of like projected in some areas. And I feel like he can add 10 pounds, no? If Calijah Kancey adds 10 pounds, does that conversation almost go away?
Possibly. Well, he has short arms, like 30 and 5/8 inch arms. So those are short arms. Like that if there's anything that worries you, that worries you more than the height or the weight. But again, the way he plays as a pass rusher, like he's got multiple, like he works cross chop, rip, swim, spin, bull, and they all are smooth and work together. The way he's able to get like the offensive lineman's feet to stop and then use his hands violently, like it's nuts. Now, when an offensive lineman can land their punch and get some arms on him, yeah, he's not the best in the world, but he does better than, again, basically every defensive tackle in this class besides Jalen Carter, or maybe Bresee, with hands on him. And then in the run game, where he'll be picked apart, like he consistently gets penetration in their running game, and he was doubled a lot, and I thought he did a pretty damn good job holding ground and fighting through those doubles. Like, because of the size, he would give up a little bit of initial movement, but he never got dominated or anything. Like guys like Keanu, Benton, you double them, you're moving them off the spot.
Yeah.
Even Siaki Ika out of Baylor, you double him, you can move him off the spot, and he's not really going to fight through that. He fights through that and makes plays out of it. Really, the only thing, it's like he doesn't have like the size to two gap really well. Well, guess what? You use him to his strengths and don't put him in those situations, which I think he can two gap decently. Like you can do that, and I hate doing this. But
you're going to.
Yes, I hate doing this, but I am going to. I'm going to pull up a scouting report of an undersized defensive tackle from Pitt.
Who's that?
Aaron Donald.
Oh,
right. And this isn't to compare him to Aaron Donald, but like just film wise, and again, I wasn't doing draft stuff when Aaron Donald came out, so I'm not going to sit here and compare them. But I just want to go on their scouting reports and read you the negatives. Just the negatives. Because for Aaron Donald, marginal height and frame is nearly maxed out. For Calijah Kancey, lacks prototypical size. Aaron Donald, hands are more active than strong. Could play with more pop and power. Overpowered in the run game and ground up by double teams. Gets snared and controlled by bigger, longer blockers. Not a two-gap player. Has some tweener traits, lacks ideal length and bend to play outside. Cancey, lacks a prototypical size. Big guards can latch in and end the rush at times if he's not first off the snap, which, by the way, he's always first off the snap. Lack of length shows up if he can't get to a rush edge. Ducks head into blockers, losing sight of run play development, so that one's not on Donald's. Fails to mirror lateral steps, gets reached and sealed by athletic blockers.
Lateral movement. You want to talk about lateral movement? Calijah Kancey.
The only negative I see on him on film, Justin, is that there is times where it's like he needs to tackle it better. Like there's times where tackles slip away from him.
Finishing plays.
You know, like his stats should be better. Like he should have more tackles for losses. So that's like the only thing that's like the only thing on film that shows up bad besides giving up some ground to the run game. But again, like he fights through those like pretty consistently. He's just a smooth player at the defensive line group.
Yeah.
And so I did my evaluation on him on on Monday. The mock draft video was done before that.
Would you have taken him?
I would have taken him over Zay Flowers. Like he's like kind of my want guy right now. Obviously, we still have more players to evaluate. He is my want guy for pick 25.
Yeah, Calijah Kancey is my first like really big, realistic draft crush for the Giants right now. He, again, don't overthink it. He is the best football player on the field when he played for Pittsburgh, and I don't know if I can really 100% foolproof say that with a lot of other players that I've looked at so far this process, and I've looked at mostly all of the wide receivers. We've done the positions for Talking Giants and stuff like that. Calijah Kancey, down in and down out, was the best football player on the field, played like it, the best football player on the field for Pitt, and I am not overthinking if he is there for the Giants. As of right now, if he is there for the Giants at 25, like I'm really enticed by it. It'll be really tough to say no.
The thing is while he is like projected, I've seen people project him in the second round. To me, there's got to be one team before pick 25 that takes him.
I agree.
There has to be. Like I think he's going to go in the top 15 because it's not about what these draft websites and stuff, right? Like there's going to be some team that picks him in the top 15.
Do you think he has any? I'm not advocating for a transition to edge, but he has edge versatility, right? Where you want to, there are reps where you would be okay with, telling him, hey, stand up in a 2-point stance and then go after the tackle here. I mean, Leonard Williams does that from time to time, and he's not an edge rusher. And I feel like he could even thrive in that when he is asked to do that every once in a while.
Well, I wouldn't put him in a stand-up stance. I'd put him down like Leonard Williams does when you want to run some more of those even fronts. And that's kind of the conversation with Wink Martindale. It's like, Wink likes to run odd fronts, so where does he fit in there? I don't know, man. Like, Dex is playing nose tackle. I feel solid putting him at 3 or 5, like, every down of the game. Every down of the game. Like, this guy's going to be a game changer. Again, there could be some worries about size and, dealing with some stuff in the run game. But guess what? He's going to make enough positive plays in the run game where if he's not the best 2-gapper in the world, you're going to be happy with him.
I agree. Don't overthink it. Cold Stone Creamery scale, like it, love it, gotta have it. He is the first gotta have it player for me.
Yeah, so I am actively rooting for him to be the 25th pick of the NFL draft.
As of now, it's early April.
Yeah, as of now. But like between him and Zay Flowers, give me Cancey.
Yeah,
best
much
player
better
available.
football player. Yeah,
best player available. All right, let's hit the next guy on the list, and that is Bryan Bresee out of Clemson, who is a very interesting prospect. Who 6'5.5", 298 pounds. By the way, doesn't he look kind of like a cartoon character where it's like his upper body is like so like big and thick and his like the legs don't necessarily match it? Hell of an athlete, was, like I think he was a top rated prospect coming out of high school. Weird career at Clemson. So in September 2021, he tears his ACL. Then he had shoulder surgery in January. And this is a guy who's 21 years old. And then comes back this season and had a lot of personal stuff in his life. Like 15-year-old sister died basically in September, like crazy. Then he had a kidney issue that added 45 pounds of water weight to him. And then he got strep throat in the season. Like just had like the worst of luck of any man on a college football field this past season. But this guy's a good player, Like he's a big athletic defensive tackle who just has natural ability, but he needs to put it together. He needs to put his game together, but his get off is good. Like there's a lot of forward lean in it, but like his hand usage is really bad. So you don't see these highlight plays that you would want to see from a guy who has his ability. And then like I think he can bully more. Like he worked the bull rush, push pockets, use your hands. But his first step, his lateral ability, his ability to get in the gap. And then in the run game, Justin, he's just like stronger than everybody.
Yeah.
Like they can be winning with technique and stuff, and he holds up and he's able to fight through those things. Like it looks kind of like at times where it's like it's the varsity kid who's big and strong who doesn't know how to play football versus the JV guy. Obviously, it's not that drastic. But again, he kind of has bully strength, and he's a disruptive player. Like, even on he's not going to play on the edge in the NFL, but versus Tennessee, he played on the edge. Will Anderson, B.J. Ojolari, a lot of good edge rushers. He had the best film out of any of those guys versus Darnell Wright. Like, he beat him clean a few times.
And that was this year's tape, too, not just 2021.
Yeah, that was this year's. And again, his film in 2021, pre-ACL, like, I went and watched him against Georgia. Like, I thought that was his best, that was a much better film than the 2022 film.
Oh, it was much better. If you're keeping track at home, sorry I didn't mention this, Calijah, Kancey, 22 years old, turning 23 in March, so he just turned 22. And then Bresee, how are we saying Brian's last name? Bresee. Bryan Bresee's he is 21 right now. He is turning 22 in October, so he is super young for you age freaks keeping track, because Joe Shane kind of likes to keep track of that stuff. I feel bad because I was watching Bresee when I had no Wi-Fi and I was in the car, and I was watching the 2022 tape, and I'm writing down not fun things because I'm looking at where he's kind of projected, and I'm looking at where he's going to slot in, and I'm like, what? This guy's strong, and he kind of doesn't do a lot of other things. But you told me the context of all the bad shit that happened to him this year, which does matter. I mean, this does matter. Who these what the circumstances around NFL draft prospects, whether that be scheme, whether that be whatever's going on in your life, or whether you're working on something, you're working through injury, all this shit does matter, and NFL teams really do get to the bottom of it, and that's why it's tough for us to project things like this. But I will say, even from just his 2022 tape, Bobby mentioned the Georgia tape, and he did look like a completely different player in 2021, but the 2022 tape, even from this year, he does not lose ground on double teams. There are a lot of guys that are even much bigger than him that do lose ground on double teams. He will hold his ground. He will anchor down. He's very, very strong. Long strides that gain ground. There are no false steps in his game at all. And then even 2021, I was, saw some reports where it's like, oh, this guy's explosive. Did not see that in 2022. But in 2021, before his torn ACL, did really look like that explosive athlete, an explosive player, fired off the ball. He was on pace for a true breakout year. I think he played the month of September before he tore his ACL. So he was even, he was taking it to guys like Cedric Van Pran from Georgia, Bobby, who you even like. He was taking it to guys like that, in that one Georgia game. He showed the ability and flashed as a first-round talent in that 2021 tape, and we know second year off the torn ACL, which will be this upcoming season, the second year off that torn ACL, where you have a season where you can kind of just train normally and not rehab, that is a year where you can kind of rebound and really show what you're made of. So if a team wants to take a chance on Bresee, and he has a chance to show that his 2022 self is not his actual self, then he'll have an opportunity to do that this year.
Well, and I also don't want to act like his 2022 film was horrible, right? Like, he was a good player. Like, he for Power 5 draftees, he was 6th in win rate, 5th in pressure percentage, like the same as guys like Jalen Carter. Like, it was just not like top 10, top 15 type film. But again, and here's the thing, is his hand usage is really bad and needs to develop, right?
He doesn't do anything with his hands.
Guess what? We have Andre Patterson here, who is a coach who is like a guru with getting guys to use their hands better. So you have all that, that ability and stuff. I definitely think he's a first round player.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I watched the 2022 tape first. That sticks in my mind. I don't like guys that don't have a multitude of moves. I'm not thinking he could be. I'm not good at grading guys like you, so I don't want to say he affirmatively he's not a first round player. But for me, he's not an option for the Giants currently in my brain. I'll watch him more if they take him, and I'll watch that 2021 tape, and I'll probably fall in love. But right now, I'm not there.
The only thing that would slow me down from, and again, I don't love him like Cancey, so I can see there being other guys on the board there that I would want more than him. But the only thing that would stop me from being like, is this guy worth a first round pick? And not just talking about the Giants, but any team in the end of the first round, is fear of re-injury, of like, is this guy injury prone, and medicals. He had that
struggled
kidney issue.
with the shoulder injury too towards the end of the 2022 season. He played in the conference championship game and he played in the bowl game, played week 13, but he did miss games sporadically throughout the 2022 season. I know he had that shoulder injury he was kind of working through.
Yeah, so like injury is the thing that worries me, because I think this guy is a ball of clay that is worth working on. Again, like hand usage is like the number one thing for defensive linemen that can be fixed. Like that's something that's like, if you have a good D-line coach, like come in and let me coach your hands up. But the athleticism, the lateral ability, the strength that he has, you can't teach that type of stuff. And I think that is all worthy of a first round pick in Bresee.
Word up, Bobby. You want to talk about something?
No. Do you want to talk about something?
I'll talk about something. Are you going to interrupt me?
No, because I accidentally closed mine out. I have to pull it back up.
So, the baseball season is in full swing. Get it? Because you swing a bat in baseball. And whether you're rooting for the home team or betting on your favorite player, DraftKings Sportsbook has got you covered for all this season's action. Right now, new customers can place a $5 pregame moneyline bet and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. Plus, everyone can hit one out of the park with DraftKings same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets in a single game for a shot at an even bigger payout. What John Boy has been doing and Joe's McFly, they've been like basically just cashing out in games. So whenever like the Royals get a runner on base, but they're not favored to win, they'll like put money on the Royals, and if they get a runner to third, they'll like cash out and they'll make like 50 cents. And it's like an absurd thing, but they literally will make, if you do it really strategically and tediously, you can make like $5 in a game, but just do that every night. So if you are really committed to making small amounts of money and doing small little cash outs, join John Boy and Joe's McFly in doing that.
Yeah, so if you guys are extremely locked into making $5 a night, that sounds fun.
But if you make $5 a night, 162 nights of the year, I mean, Julian, you're good at math. What's 162 times 5?
Not a livable wage.
Yeah, it's $900. It's $5 a day.
That's fantastic. That's a fantastic little payout.
But if these people just have bigger bets, then the cash outs will be bigger. And
that's
the thing about,
too risky,
and I don't know if we can keep this in. The thing about gambling, the more you bet, the more you win.
Well, that's risky. We don't live in the life of risk. So join the big league action now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app and sign in with the code WORLD. New customers can bet just $5 on any pregame money line and get $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code WORLD. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. I have a tough time with that word. See show notes for details. Details or details? What do you say?
I say Keanu Benton.
That's what I say too.
Defensive tackle out of Wisconsin. This was a guy we watched. This is one of the first guys I watched of draft season out of Wisconsin.
Senior Bowl guy.
Yeah, Senior Bowl guy. 6'4", 309 pounds. And even though he's a Senior Bowl guy, he's only 22 years old.
No, he's 21, turning 22 in July.
Yeah, turning 22 in July. Excuse me. I have that written down right there. 22 in July. And he took or at least he's set to take a top 30 visit with the New York Giants. So this is obviously somebody that's on their radar.
Hell yeah.
Justin, he was a nose tackle mostly for Wisconsin, who lined up a three tech a good bit. I think that's where his home is at in the NFL, is three tech, at least to start. And he's just a good overall athlete, and he has quick wins. Like that is the name of the game for Keanu Benton. Like good get off and then quick hands to have like some of the best just individual reps in this class for defensive tackle. Like he can make offensive linemen look silly with that quick first step and those fast hands. But my critique of him is a little boomer bust, where it's like if he doesn't get that quick initial win, he doesn't really have like the play strength or the ability to like the hand fight to recover on those reps. But again, he has a lot of production doing that stuff, and that shows up in the run game too. It's the same thing in the run game. That's like, hey, he had 10 tackles for a loss this past year, which is a lot for a defensive tackle in college. So his best best stuff in the run game was like basically getting in the gap, staying square, and just turning the offensive line's shoulders, like kind of benching them off of him, from the side. But he's not going to win in the run consistently. Like offensive linemen, once they get connected on him, have very little issues finishing blocks. And then double teams, they move him way too easily, and just even single blocks, like good leverage blocks, just kind of eliminate him. So he has like athleticism, he has flash plays, he has some. I think he needs to get some more strength, but he's not like weak or anything. But there is flaws to his game, and that's why I view him as like a top of the third round player.
Really, top of the third. I was thinking maybe even second round he would be an option, but I guess I would tend to agree with you. Again, I don't like grading players like that. You take a lot more pride in how you grade players and where they're supposed to be drafted or where you would draft them. Keanu Benton, Senior Bowl guy, already has like the interior defensive line frame that you're kind of looking for. I think he has the frame that particularly Joe Schoen and Wink Martindale are looking for. Like we're talking about Calijah, Cancey, and like that kind of dream and that ball and that kind of home run type of player. I just don't know if Joe Schoen and Wink Martindale would go for that kind of player, especially when you talk about if you want to slide him in the interior defensive line. I think they like a little bit of beef on their boys, but I don't know if they like too much beef on their boys. And I think Keanu Benton is kind of like that perfect little combination of having the beef on, but also he's a little bit of quick and he has some athleticism with him too. And I think really why we're talking about how he has quick hands and he uses his hands at least at the point of attack well. He has grown man strength, but I divide it between his upper body strength and his lower body strength. I think grown man strength is there with his upper body, and I think that's where you see the quick hands and the effective hands come into play. But I want him to use his lower half more, or develop his lower half. I don't know if that is something that is developed in the NFL, Bobby. I mean, he is also 21 years old, turning 22 in July, like we said. I think he can win so much more efficiently and effectively if he generated power from his lower half more, because his hands and his upper body is there, and he wins effectively when he's able to use that effectively. Not using his legs can also lead to some balance issues on some plays. He is a love-it player for me, but he does need to try and unlock how he can use his legs more.
Yeah, and I mean, defensive tackle, Justin, is a position that we consistently see is like, sometimes for a lot of guys, it's like year 3 is the pop-off year, right? Yeah. And for Dex, it was year 4. So like guys that come out after being a junior or younger, that could be there, and I think this guy's going to go on to the Eagles because he reminds me a little bit of Javon Hargrave, right? Where Hargrave, to start his career, he had 10.5 sacks through 3 seasons. Tackles for loss, he had, a 15. So not bad, but like QB hits were all in the single digits. And he was starting games for them in those years. And then like kind of popped off. And then this past year was obviously his best year. I think he's going to be one of those, like we said, he's a guy who can have those quick initial wins, and those will get him by. But he needs to, like you said, get that lower body strength to be more consistent on a down-in, down-out basis to where you're not a boom or bust player. Where, like, again, we're not asking this guy to be Dalvin Tomlinson at the nose tackle spot, where he's just like, just grown man and these, guys all game long. But you need to have some functional strength to where you're not a negative in the run game. And I think Keanu Benton early in the NFL will be a negative in the run game.
Yeah, but he could be somewhat of a plus in the pass game early. He had 11 QB hits this year, which was 4th amongst interior defensive linemen this year, at least the draft-eligible players. He split his time almost evenly between the A gap and the B gap. He had 698 snaps in the A gap, and the B gap he had 612 snaps over the course of his Wisconsin career. Bobby, I know you mentioned that he could be a nose tackle in the NFL, but I also think he can, he can kind of split time.
I think his home is 3 tech. He played mostly nose at Wisconsin.
Yeah, so he can easily fill the same role in the NFL. So Keanu Benton, he is a love-it player for me. He was the best interior defensive lineman at the Senior Bowl too. Like he flashed the most, and I was kind of disappointed with most of the. Actually, no, that's a lie. Adebawore was the best interior defensive lineman at the Senior Bowl. So Benton was the second best. He had the most flash plays.
Okay.
You disagree?
I think Benton's better than Adebawore, who we'll talk about next. But yeah, like you said, he had the second amount of QB hits in this class for defensive tackles with 11, fifth highest pressure percentage. Like he is a guy who's going to generate havoc in the backfield for an offense. I think he had a bunch of run stops too.
Yeah.
He's not consistent. Like I said, he's going to have wins in the run, but he needs to be better taking on blocks and especially double teams, because double teams will just flat out move him off the spot.
Wait, who did you say? Who did I say and who did you say? I have the memory of a goldfish. I think Adebawore is... Did I say Benton had a better Senior Bowl than a better...
You said... You corrected yourself and said Adebawore had a better one.
Okay. Adebawore had a better Senior Bowl than Benton, and I also think Adebawore is a better player than Keanu Benton. And do you disagree with any of those statements?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Adetomomiwa, Adebawore.
Yes.
I think I got that right. The defensive tackle out of Northwestern, who is small, like Cancey, but he has 33 and 7/8 inch arms, so he does have long arms, even though he's 6'2" and only 282 pounds. This guy is a freak of an athlete, a freak. Ran a 4.49 40, a 37.5 inch vertical jump, 27 bench press reps. Had 5 sacks and 9 tackles for a loss this past year. Now, he played mostly end for Northwestern. Like, he played 65% at end, and obviously in a 3-point stance. But he didn't play defensive tackle for the most part for Northwestern. This guy is an amazing athlete and has great flexibility that's going to turn into wins with him. But I think he's a projection, because I think he has a lot of room to grow. Like, he needs to add functional strength to start at the next level.
No.
Comes off the snap fast, but I think he can get off faster. And I think his footwork is kind of bad and stops and can get a little sloppy.
Yeah, Adetomomiwa Adebawore, 22 years old now, just turned 22. He's turning 23 in the month of March. I mentioned that he crushed it at the Senior Bowl. He was one of the best players there. For a player with some questions on playing like a tweener, I think he really dominated at the point of attack in Mobile, and I think he dominates at the point of attack. Long arms with the lead explosion off the line, engages with good pad level. Really takes advantage of going up against tight ends, which is a thing in the NFL. A lot of people kind of want to discard those reps where you're going up against...
Do you think he's going to play on the end in the NFL? Because then he's never going to go against tight ends.
True. No, because he was lined up exclusively at interior defensive line in Mobile.
And here's the thing is, Justin, I saw him get dominated by tight ends at Ohio State. And in the other game I watched of him, like, he got, like, if there's any block that has a good angle to it, I saw him get washed by tight ends.
Yeah.
Tight ends. And I think he just struggles to get his feet and his hands working together to disengage in the run. I think he's got bad play recognition. Like, he is a project to me.
Yeah, like, he definitely does need to use his hands better, so I agree with you there. He plays high and has trouble finishing some plays, so that's where, I think we're, in terms of play recognition, if you're playing high and your eyes kind of aren't, you're not balancing your eyes being in the backfield, but also shedding the block. You don't want to play the block, you want to play the play, right? 25% missed tackle rate. Don't play the block, get rid of the block. That's the kind of note that I have on him. So, he's got bad play recognition. Now, again, he is a hell of an athlete, and his athleticism made plays for him. Like, we're going to talk about another guy who had a great combine. Yeah, it's like, show me something on tape, and he doesn't do it. Now, Adebawore does do that. He shows you stuff that will make you want to bet on him. And he had the fastest 40 ever recorded by someone who weighed over 280 pounds, at a 4.49. So again, he does have quick initial wins and can work his hands quickly. But I think he's got to get a lot better, obviously. But again, I worry about him. Like, when I see you getting washed up by tight ends, I worry about you. And with Cancey, who's similar size, shorter arms, but similar size, it's like, okay, the question is, how will all this stuff that he does great translate at the next level? With Adebawore, it's like, can he get better at this stuff at the next level? Which is, again, this guy is an athlete, and he shows you enough to be willing to bet on him. Yeah.
But I'm nowhere nearly as high on him as other people.
What's the grade you got him?
Third rounder.
Third round. Yeah, that's lower than some of the consensus.
So if you take him in the second round, it's a bet, and you can pop off and win that big time. But it's a gamble. Like it's a gamble.
Yeah.
Like this athleticism does not always translate into being a great player.
Yeah.
Or even a good player in the NFL.
The Giants like their athletes, but also I think that they have their types for interior D-line, and I think you may have to be floating, 290 more, 300. You got to be a little bit beefy, but be an athletic beefy. And I don't know if Adebawore fits that, but he's still a fun player, and I still really wanted to talk about him.
And he played end in college, So
Yeah.
What do you got, Julian?
This guy is completely off my draft board because I will misspell his name about 100 times on draft night.
It's true.
If you take him.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. That is going to be tough. I'm actually
writing
hoping
his
we
name
don't.
in a hurry. Yeah,
I'm hoping we don't draft him just so it's like we don't have to like keep on saying his name over and over again. So
I'm good though. I got it. Adetomomiwa Adebawore. I'm good.
yeah, so see if you remember how to do it exactly in 2 weeks.
Wandale was hard enough for me last year, and that's an easy one.
Wandale, that's easy. You just remember the comma.
Yeah, come on now.
Or the apostrophe, not comma. So again, this is a guy I think that is worth betting on. I don't want that to come off like, hey, I don't think this guy's worth a bet on. But a lot has to improve. Like he's clearly after the three guys we talked about before in Cancey, Bresee, and Benton.
Okay, so you do have Benton higher than him. Okay.
Yeah, not by a ton, but like I see Benton translating into a good player and becoming a better player. It's just going to take a little time. Adebawore, he's going to have to just turn into a different player than what he was in college.
That's fair. Yeah.
And again, he didn't even play defense. Like unless you believe he can play on the end, right? Like, do we think he can play on the end? Because I don't. Like he really struggles. Like when he has length on him, and guys land his stuff, and again, he doesn't have like the same like foot fire and hands that Cancey has, where guys get their hands on him pretty easily and the rep's done.
Yeah, I think if there was any chance that he would play in the end, I don't think he really did. I watched every 1v1 rep, and
he was only in the inside at the
He was only interior. Like in my brain, it's so weird with Adebawore, where I watched him down at the Senior Bowl, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, he's at least 290, maybe 300, because I think he had 99, so if you have a higher number, I automatically think that you're 15 pounds heavier than you actually are. So I'm thinking like, okay, he's your typical interior defensive line, little bit of a beefy boy, right? With good pop and good athleticism. But then I actually, go to the scouting report, and he's 282 pounds, and that kind of shocked me, and I saw how much of a tweener he actually is. So he did not take any edge reps at Mobile. So I think his home is interior defensive line, at least for right now.
He's going to dominate one-on-one reps. Like I said, his athleticism, and his flexibility is going to allow him to dominate those reps. But guess what? In football, one-on-ones are not realistic, and especially on the interior. Like they're a little more realistic out on the edge. On the interior, they are totally unrealistic.
Right. Like
one of the more unreal. The only thing more unrealistic is like one-on-one drills, and even that might be, more realistic wide receiver. At least you're going to get some one-on-one man stuff like that. Right. But in NFL, they're going to be sliding towards you. Like you got to be able to push. You got to be able to push that pocket.
Yeah. All right, Bobby, let's get a move on.
All right, next guy on this list, and I don't really love talking about guys that we don't like or I don't like, but I feel like we had to talk about him, and it's Gervon Dexter, the defensive tackle out of Florida, who, to me, he's a workout warrior. 6'6", 310 pounds, ran a 4.88 40, 31-inch vertical, 7.5 3-cone drill. But his film is really bad. Like, for a guy who has his athleticism, I've never seen someone slower off the snap than him. Like him getting off the ball is one of the slowest processes I've ever seen. He just shows no urgency out there, to where it's like you don't know him personally, and I would never say this about someone I don't have like sources or stuff. But it's like, are you lazy? Because the way you play looks like it. Like he's very slow and shows no urgency, but he does have natural strength. But anytime someone works technique on him, he loses. And he can get a good hand stab, but he doesn't work his hands. So he'll have a good rep here and there moving forward as a pass rusher, but not consistently. And then here's the one really good thing about him is in single blocks, he's not going to give up ground, But even then, he's not winning those reps because his feet don't really move. Like he doesn't shed blocks like very often in the run, even though he does have a high tackle number. What did he have last year? 55 tackles. Like I don't think he sheds blocks nearly as well as that number would let you to believe. Like maybe I watched the 2 worst games of film.
What did you watch?
Tennessee and Georgia.
I watched the Kentucky game and
Kentucky. It was Kentucky.
He had a good game against Kentucky.
He had an interception.
I thought there were plays that he made.
I don't think there was transferable plays where it's like, okay, this works at the next level.
Yeah, and again, I mean,
he's so slow off the snap. He's going to win the point of attack. He's going to lose the point of attack every single play.
Yeah, 100%. Because it's the Evan Neal effect. If you don't get off the ball, then what are you going to do? And so my first note is he's explosive and strong, but not fast off the ball. Like he's an explosive athlete where he can, he explodes into guys when he actually decides to get off the ball after you can read a book and get a colonoscopy after the ball snapped. I put an emphasis on strong because you have to be strong in order to be so bad technically and slow off the ball, but still be good. Like that's how you know that he is strong as heck. He has an NFL frame and size that's already ready to go. He can take linemen for a ride the way he churns his feet. And again, that impresses me so much that he can take some linemen for a ride when he turns his feet because of how slow he is off the ball. And again, the way that I'm talking about him, Bobby, and this is the way that I talk about prospects, I'm talking about him like he's projected. This guy's projected to be a 5th round pick, a 4th round pick.
Dexter? I see people projecting him in the 2nd round.
Well, that's a very different story. That's a very, very different story. I'm viewing this guy as a day 3 pick. And the athlete is worthy to take a chance on when you get to that point. Here's my overall thought, right? Because we're talking about how Dexter has the strength, he has the pop, he's a good athlete, he's big, he has the size that's ready to go, right? They had a top 30 visit with him. I'm a fly on the wall during the Giants' top 30 visit with Dexter. He is a hard worker. His coaches in Florida vouch for him. And I trust that he's committed at getting better at the technical side of the game. He is a player that I'm attracted to. But if I am not getting the sense that he's going to work hard, if I'm not getting the sense that he's going to get better, and if I am getting the sense that he is lazy, then no way, Jose, this is a guy that's not draftable.
Yeah, it's just I've never seen someone so slow off the snap.
He's very slow. I don't know what it is.
And he has athleticism. Like, look at his testing numbers. He has athleticism. I'm going to pull up Brugler's a guy I trust most. I'm going to pull up his big board to see where he has him on there.
He's painfully slow off the ball, and it takes away play. Like, he will make some tackles down the field, or he misses tackles, or he whiffs on some plays, and it's like, dude, if you just get out of your stance when you're supposed to, you can make this play. You can make this tackle for loss. He's excruciatingly slow off the ball. But again, investing in athletic traits is something that like I am attracted to, and I know the Giants are attracted to, which is why they hosted him for a top 30 visit. Yeah,
he's a you could work with him. Like there's stuff there. It's like he's not a guy where it's like, this guy has no chance of being a player in the NFL. But it's like, I don't know if I'm projecting that with him. Like, and again, he'll have some good reps here or there when he can get some space and moving forward, But if you're playing in the NFL, I'm jump setting him every single play because I'm getting my hands. I'm winning that battle, and he doesn't have like the hand fight or anything like that to counter and make me pay for jump setting him. Let's see. I'm going to go through Dane Brugler. See, Dane Brugler has him as number 54 on his big board. Has him over Keanu Benton.
That's someone we trust.
Yeah, and I just don't.
But we disagree.
I don't see it. Let me see if I can. Does he have a right?
I disagree with him being that high. Again, unless you can magically convince me that he's going to be in the NFL and he's going to magically be a hard worker and he's going to play balls to the wall, which he does not do right now. What's up with Florida producing a bunch of people that
I'm reading what so a 4.88 second 40 and a 31-inch vertical at 3-inch towns are impressive, but Dexter needs to improve getting out of his stance and exploding upfield to maximize his athletic ability. So again, I guess he agrees. It's just some people see him getting out of it. His raw strength, which he does have strength, gets him out of trouble when guards and centers get their hands on him, but that may not be enough to produce in the NFL, which I fear. When he plays, I agree with what he's saying, but I don't agree with 54. But he is young. I mean, how old? He's 20. He'll be 22 in October, so he's young.
Yep.
So there's something there to work with. But like with Adebawore, there's a lot there to work with, and you see that athleticism make plays for him and be a good player. Be a good player. Like it's not.
But Dexter has
level.
longer arms. How long are his arms? He's 6'6", 310 pounds, so he's 30 pounds heavier than Adebawore.
He's just kind of he's a whole different player than he is.
Right, but that's why Dexter would be higher than Adebawore, because just the natural traits is what NFL teams are attracted to, and there are coaches that will look at Dexter and say, I can fix you. Because he's so raw, like Dexter is so raw because he doesn't do anything football technically, so he is nothing. So coaches probably may look at him and say, you're so athletically raw and talented that I want to work with you.
I guess so.
I know so.
We'll see.
It's kind of bizarre, but I mean, coaches have the ego of like, I know I can fix you. We've seen it. And it usually happens with guys from Florida.
The next guy on this list is a guy I like. Siaki. Actually, no, let me read an ad.
Oh, yeah, please.
Today's episode is sponsored by SeatGeek. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're a ticketing app that makes buying tickets super simple. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events every single day on SeatGeek, including sports, concerts, festivals, and more. So I'm going to be up there during the first round of the NBA and NHL playoffs.
Sure.
I kind of got to get to I want to go to a Devils playoff game. The Nets, even though they're in the playoffs, are the 6th seed. They're playing the team I hate the most in the 76ers, and anybody can beat that soft-ass team, so my expectation is to win.
Wow.
I'm still devastated by this whole thing not working out, as much as I like Mikal Bridges. The Devils, I'm all in. And I'm more casual of a hockey fan. Like, I don't know puck. So I can just be like a rabid fan and be like, hey, we're the best team in the NHL. Like, there's nothing you can say to me to make me change my opinion, because I don't know puck. I just love the New Jersey Devils, so I'm going to have to get to that. And playoff hockey is so much better than playoff basketball, especially in the first round. They always want to make sure you're getting a good deal, so when you're on the app, look for green dots. Baby, dots. Green means good, red means bad. We're going to have red dots on the Rangers' helmets, if you know what I mean. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. We've got the hookup. Use code GIANTS for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code GIANTS. Click the link in the description to download the app. All right, next guy. Siaki Ika out of Baylor. This guy's a true nose tackle. 6'3", 335 pounds. He is a run-stuffing nose tackle who's basically limited to that role. And while he's not athletic at that size, he does have good movement skills for what his size is. Like, he fires off with good leverage. He has active, strong hands, good footwork that allows him to like shed single blocks. And like, he's a good two-gapper. Like, he's really good at, hey, getting hands on guys, read, shed. And it's kind of what you asked out of a nose tackle, Justin. The things that will stop him from being successful is like his athletic ability will stop him from making tackles. Even if they're running, by him, he doesn't have that athletic ability, and he's not really going to have. He'll have some good pass rush reps, but he's never going to really affect the passer because he's, at the end of the day, he's a two-down player. I tweeted this out, and I think it's true, but it's a positive. He's the good version of Danny. He's a good version of Danny Shelton. Danny Shelton before he came to the Giants, which was a good player in the NFL. I think that's what Ika's going to be. It's going to be a limited role, different type player, which will stop him from being drafted super high. But I think he's a round 3 type player.
What's your grade?
Third round.
You said third round, idiot. Any concerns about his weight? That's something that I think about now.
I mean, he's not like 370 pounds. Like he's 335. Like
which is kind of strange because a lot of sites had him listed at like 350 before the season. So I wonder if he like lost weight, like for like the pre-draft process.
Like someone that size can lose 15 pounds in the month before the combine.
He looks heavier than 335 on film.
Yeah, he probably lost like 15 to 20 pounds for the combine.
Which, I mean, that playing at such a big weight is a concern. Number one, not just for
yeah, but if you're playing nose tackle, like you can deal with it.
Yeah, no, and even just being healthy long term too. I mean, it's things you got to think about. It's things that I think about. But yeah, I agree with the Danny Shelton comp, nose tackle, lower body strength, the whole 9 yards.
Next guy on this list, Jaquelin Roy, the defensive tackle at LSU. He's basically like, to me, he's like the exact opposite of Gervon Dexter. Horrible tester at 6'3", 305 pounds. He had an 801 3-cone drill, a 500 shuttle, like horrible speed testing. Like the worst 3-cone drill for defensive tackle is the second worst for the short shuttle. Now he did have 30 bench press reps, and it translates into his game, like which was the second most for defensive linemen. He is a run player. For that testing, he does get off the snap pretty well. Like, he's kind of win some, lose some getting off the snap. But he can move laterally fairly well for the defensive tackle spot, and his punch is strong. Like, that bench press translates with him. He straight up benches players off of him. And I would like to see him develop more hand usage within that. But, like, he kind of has that ability to, hey, I'm playing my gap and I'm playing it strong. Or being two gapping. Like, he two gaps really well. And he's just got, like, a great eyes and IQ for that position to like know where they're going. So it's like, hey, I'm playing this, to do the 2-gap role, which is playing, 2 gaps. It's in the name. For me, Roy, he has to become a more consistent player. Like that's the thing. It's like there's like plays where it's like, man, this is awesome the way he's able to do this, but there's not the consistency that you want out of him.
And I think if he was more consistent, he would be projected to go higher in the draft because then he would be more of a playmaker. So I think it's fair to call him a jack of all trades but master of none, correct?
Yeah, but I think he's going to turn into a good defensive tackle.
Correct, which is why I love interior defensive linemen, and I love looking at interior defensive linemen in the NFL draft specifically because you can get a guy that's kind of drafted, that's kind of projected to go middle of the draft or even drafted in the middle of the draft, and you can still look at a guy and be like, this guy's going to be a good football player. Like Byron Young is a guy from Alabama who, despite not really doing anything flashy, I still think that he's going to be a good NFL player. Like Fedarian Mathis last year, another guy that was taken out of Alabama, interior defensive lineman. Hey, you don't really do anything flashy, but I still think you're going to be a good NFL player. You're going to be around for a long time. So Roy is a high energy dude, high energy, high aggression, but under control player. He's 22. He's turning 23 in the month of October. He tosses dudes to the side. So this is the whole 30 bench press, point that you had. Tosses dude to the side. The swipe and the way he's able to toss dudes to the side is so powerful, and grown men shouldn't be able to throw other grown men around like that. That's where the 30 bench press reps really show up. He goes in with the plan, kind of a little bit of a plan of what he wants to do before the play, but he's also able to counter if the first move doesn't work at the point of attack. And he also played a lot of snaps this year for LSU, despite being over 300 pounds. So I think it's fine to say he doesn't necessarily have a knack to make play. Like he's a playmaker, he's not a playmaker. I've seen a lot of people throw that around as a negative. I think that's fine because I still think Roy is kind of a lock to be just a solid NFL player. So I'm right there with you. He's a love-it player for me.
Yeah, I can see him having like an Austin Johnson type career. Now, he doesn't have very much value as a pass rusher, despite having some quick hand moves. Yeah. For me, I want to see him get more forward lean as a rusher and like just have a desire to push the pocket because like, hey man, you're not going to have these quick wins. You're gonna need to be a pocket pusher to be on the field on third down consistently. That's what I want to see out of him. And then again, just more consistent play overall.
He plays the run. He plays the pass the same way that he plays the run, which is not ideal. Well, you can't see it, but Bobby's having a complete sneeze attack. I mean, you were bopping that head.
Bopping. Next guy on this list, another one of the first guys I watched in this draft process, and that's Zacch Pickens, defensive tackle out of South Carolina. Justin, I'm going to say it. I think this guy's one of the more underrated players in this draft. I don't see anyone talking about him. He's 6'4", a little light, 291 pounds, but he tested really well. Like, he was top 5 in like all defensive tackle testing. He's a lighter defensive tackle who, aligned at nose and 3 technique, but he's got good athleticism and great fundamentals. Like, he plays the position the right way. You're running zone, he knows how to flow and get in that hip and penetrate. You're running gap, he knows how to jump the gap over. Like, his lateral ability is beautiful, and again, and you can put him in stunts and he'll set those up. Like, I think he's just a very high IQ player with that athleticism and a frame to add a little more weight. Like, he's 6'4". We're not asking for, Calijah Cancey to become a 298-pound player. We're asking Zacch Pickens, who's 6'4", to add a little more weight to his game. And he works pass rush moves. Like, he could get better a little countering. But again, like, his feet and his hands work together. The issues is like double teams. Like, a lot of these guys can eliminate him in both the run and the pass. And he doesn't have like that strength that you desire. But I think for a guy who's his athleticism, his size, and his production, I think he's going to be a good player in the NFL.
I agree. Zacch Pickens, Senior Bowl guy. So that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to look at him. And he did well enough at Mobile. I'm not going to say he had a great week at Mobile, but he did well enough where it's like, I want to take another look at you. And I think he's worthy of being talked about on this interior D-line draft preview.
The only issue is he's the oldest guy out of this list that we're talking about. He's 23 years old.
23, turning 24 in March, so he just turned 23. Bobby took the words right out of my mouth. Long arms at over 34 inches. He pairs that with quick hands. He's able to separate from linemen, effectively break off blocks. Solid play recognition. Eyes are looking for the ball. He's quick off the snap. Eye, feet, and hand connection. So I'm glad that we had that same note, Bobby. Carl Banks talks about that with offensive linemen, and that's something that stuck with me a couple years ago. So now I'm taking it with defensive linemen. Eye, feet, and hand connection will serve him well against the run and the pass. They are in harmony with each other. So again, Pickens is falling into that category of a guy that maybe you can get kind of in the middle of the draft that you can lock in as being a good NFL player and feeling like you can get good value. So Zacch Pickens, 2 A's, by the way. Annoying how you spell his first name. Oh, annoying how you spell the first name. 2 C's.
I'm pretty sure.
I spelled it wrong.
At least that's how I typed it.
Nope. Nope. You are correct. It is 2 C's.
He's thick with 2 C's.
I was wrong.
We need to get to 3 C's in his name.
Okay.
So yeah, I really do think this guy's one of the more underrated players. That again, I don't see much people talking about him, but he's been a good player for South Carolina. He plays the position the right way. He's got good eyes. Like, he's just a high IQ player. Look, which a defensive tackle spot, sometimes, especially in college, you don't see that. You kind of just see guys doing their own thing, playing the wrong gaps, not jumping gaps when they're pulling at you. Getting lost, in space and, fighting all this pass rush stuff. I think he does everything pretty well, and that should turn into a solid player in the NFL. So I like Zacch Pickens. Justin, that's a defensive tackle draft preview.
Nick Gates just sent me an Instagram message. I can't tell you what it's for, though. I've been messaging Nick Gates on Instagram.
Cut that out.
We're boys like that. No, don't cut it out. We're boys like that.
That's like... Anyways.
Nope. I'm willing to... You're not willing to be like that. I'm willing to be like that.
All right. That's an episode. We'll be back on Tuesday. It's the cornerback draft preview on Tuesday, right?
Cornerback?
I believe so.
Why do I have a feeling it's safety?
No, safety I would not put on a Tuesday. I put the more important positions on Tuesdays.
Look, that's good brain.
It is cornerback. I just checked.
Cornerback, and then safety will be on Friday. Safety's probably the position I need to do the most work on. Corner, it's like I got to get a couple more guys done, and I'm set. Safety,
Giants met with a safety from Penn State.
Yeah, local days. Local days don't count.
Tough.
We'll see you on Tuesday. Enjoy your weekend. Until then, let's go Big Blue.